You were great at improv. But did you have did they just kind of let you go full rein and let you go loose on
Yeah, that? So our director, Christian, he's German, which was really interesting, and he's never done a comedy before.
Oh, wow.
So his style is not like, someone like Leslie's husband, Judd Apatow, where it's like, very improvised. So we would start improvising and he'd be like, he's like, I like it when you just stick to the script, and then we're like, but in America, we like make things up, and that's normally the better jokes, and so it was lucky, only some of the scenes we cross-shot, which means you can improvise, but one of the ones, have you guys seen the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. In that sauna scene, that was one of the rare few that was cross-shot. But we still did add in improvised beats, but Christian is a very technical director, so a lot of the shots were very carefully set up. So but definitely whenever I could, I would throw in jokes.
What was one of those moments you were the most proud of, improv, that you saw maybe?
Okay, well, the one that did really make it, is there a bit, because I've only seen the movie once, like 2 months ago, is there a bit where we're pulling up to the hospital and I say the door won't open?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That whole shot, which we just played in a one shot, was completely improvised. So we'd done 2 earlier takes where we just opened the door and run into and then I'm like, okay, let's with Leslie and Dakota, we're like, okay, let's just do something that they're not going to expect or whatever. And we did this whole thing, and luckily because we're all mic'd and whatever, they got it. And that was my first day of filming that scene of the film, and I really jarred something when I fell forward out of the door. I was like, and that was a Friday night in the middle of the night, and then all weekend I was like, just I don't know, falling forward, and it was freezing as well. And then I was like, and my hands got all gross because I went in the gutter. But that one shot, and then they just said, we'll use that.
And they did.
Did you really pull Leslie out the window?
Yes. She's heavy. She's not very heavy. But then this whole thing, and then I love there's a little bit. It goes so quickly, but a little bit where Dakota just opens the door and goes, guys, it was open.
Do you think that this kind of comedy sense you can train to build up, or it's like I think
with comic timing, you kind of have to have it. But you can definitely learn fundamentals of comedy, in terms of comedy writing and in performance, you can learn stuff. So I got this scholarship from Nicole Kidman when I was young, and I got to live in New York City for a few months, that's why I love New York. I love that we got to shoot in New York. And I went to a comedy school called Second City, which is really big here, where Tina Fey went.
So young, so you kind of everybody say, "Oh, you're funny," or something. So
no, my family reckons I'm not funny. They think they're all funnier, and I'm like, what professional comedy have you done? But no, I didn't think I was funny at all. I was a very studious girl, very sensible and responsible. But I think if I really got to know people, then my comedy would start to come out. But even when I first started acting, I didn't think I would go into comedy. But the first play I did in Australia, I really thought I was playing a serious role, and everybody just started laughing. So almost instantly, I just clicked in and went, okay, there's something about me that people like to laugh at. And then I won this scholarship and went to New York and learned a lot about fundamentals, like how to write jokes, and there's things in comedy you can do, you can set up a pattern and then destroy the pattern, and things like that, and you can do it with timing or with words or with all sorts of things, and when you learn that kind of stuff, that's when I think you start becoming professional. But I think with comedy timing, some people have it or they don't, but it's hard to explain.
But good comedy also has a serious component when it works, and there's this you take out the jokes from this movie.
And playing it for real.
Yeah, you take the jokes out of this movie.
Yeah.
It could be exactly the same movie, except you're not going to have those bursts of rebel.
I try to bring the comedy, but Dakota's and Leslie's storylines are quite serious.
But so is yours, and there's a poignancy to her that.
I improvised this whole bit in one set, which didn't make it into the film because they said it was too serious. Where I'm at the Christmas party with Dakota, and we're all like having a good time, and we start entertaining the crowd with our single stories, and then I go into some story about when I was younger, I was partying at a place that had a pool, and my cousin drowned, and I didn't realise because I was partying. and I tell like this. It was like a really sad story, and the whole crowd just is like. And then I really wanted it in the movie, but then the director's like, no, that bit was too sad. But that explains why I've become like an alcoholic in the film. There's another beat that I improvised in the rooftop party where I'm like, she's like, oh, why aren't you in a relationship? And I said something about, oh, my parents were in an abusive, domestic abuse situation. And I did this whole thing. And I thought it was like really special. The director's like, it's too dark, Rebel. People like to laugh. So they didn't include that in the film. But I was like, oh, you know, I thought it was good, but we'll see.
It could be a Rebel Wilson cut of the film.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I gave the director, I thought, maybe you could include these bits, and he's like, no, it's just the jokes.
A lot of your comedy though is like physical, like you talked about the improv out of the taxi cab, and when you jumped on those taxi cabs, and dancing in a lot of your roles.
One time when I slid off, my leg hit the number. Do you call it a number plate or license plate? Yeah. Oh, it freaking hurt. Yeah. I said I'm not doing it. Yeah.
But that's something you can't teach, like the physical comedy. Is that something it was just innate in you, or did you, when you went to that comedy school, kind of start to pick that up?
I don't know. I think it's just a thing of going for it in a take, and like not really worrying about your personal health and safety. When you like just run into the middle of the street and jump on a moving taxi. But yeah, I don't know. I do like going for it. Like in Pitch Perfect 2, I did like my own aerial stunts, which were really dangerous. Like it was really hard, but it's always good with the comedy. You want to hit it at a lot of different angles. You don't just want to have jokes. You definitely want to do some physical set pieces and stuff. And maybe that's why that day in the taxi I'm like, let's do something physical instead of just walking out of the taxi. It's always good to mix it up a bit, because some comedies that are just too much of that.
Out of all the girls in the film, do you relate to one in particular, or do you identify yourself with any of them?
Well, the thing I like about my character is that she's kind of like eternally single, which is like me in real life. Unfortunately, I haven't met the right person yet. So I really related to that, and also the overall message of the film, where it's like, yeah, don't be stuck in like a codependent situation. Just like it's all right to be single and to, you know, look after yourself. Yeah, which I think is a really good message, and not the message of most romantic comedies.
At all.
Yeah. Also, you know, the romantic comedy genre had like fallen away quite a bit. Like there hasn't really been many. Maybe like one a year.
Yeah.
What was the last one I saw? I think it was called Man Up. It's a British film, which was just a smaller film, which was like incredibly good. And you're like, that genre, because I know like myself, you know, the Katherine Heigl movies and stuff, you'd just be like, oh, that's not something I would go and see.
Yeah.
Whereas How to Be Single is like, you get different perspectives because of the 4 different main girls, and it's also more of a modern perspective, because the motto is, you know, you can be single and it's totally fine, and you don't.
Female comedians are kind of just like pushed away to not do as, you know, be as quote crude as male comedians and stuff like that.
Yeah. The thing is though, I mean, I think I came to Hollywood at like the exact right time, because my first job was Bridesmaids, and that ended up, I was like auditioned for Melissa McCarthy's role and didn't get it, but they liked me so much they added me into the film. And then that movie was just a massive hit the following year, and then that's spawned all these amazing female comedies, and which I think Pitch Perfect is one of, where there's these female ensembles and the women can be all outrageous and bawdy, and you look at like Amy Schumer like last year in Trainwreck, and that's really kind of a lot of sexual humor and stuff like that. And so I think now it's like becoming the norm. Also that the movies are R-rated, whereas before female comedies like were more tame than the guys' comedy. But now I'm noticing they're like really encouraging us to do R-rated,
Good.
super edgy, honest kind of
You've been a
material.
part of a lot of like female-driven ensembles. So how important is it when you're working with these women to just support one another, both on screen and then behind the scenes as well?
The good thing about like doing female-driven, being a female, is like, because when I came up in the industry, and I've worked with like a lot of the great males in the industry, but you're always treated different in those situations, and your role's never really that good. And you always try to make it better, but then you're not really the focus of the film. Whereas a movie like How to Be Single or like Pitch Perfect, they have female writers, and the women roles are normally written better. And I mean, I don't know, I worked with a lot of great guys as well, but there's something about the female ensemble movies that are more fun in a way. Yeah, because sometimes when you're in the male movies, you're just playing the wife or the girlfriend or whatever, and it's not as exciting.
Do you get to shine in the Brothers Grimsby?
No.
Darn, because he needs some competition.
No, because that's Sasha's movie, and so it's 97% Sasha, unfortunately.
So you have the 3% part.
Yeah, and you try to really, do the best that you can, but in that situation, they're not really concerned with like a female being funny in the film, but
still, hopefully it'll be a great movie.
So if you like his stuff, you'll really like it. It's so outrageous. Yeah.
But you consider
We have time for one last question.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Rapid fire.
Definitely wrong, but
Yeah.
you're my most favorite comedic actress.
Oh, thank you.
So, and Melissa, talking about Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, she's not as good as she.
Hollywood they're so concerned about the weight. So do you think it's like the advantage is like
well, there's a whole
size
science
and
to it that if a woman is very, very attractive, it's harder to laugh at her. There's some there's a science. It's also much easier to laugh at a guy than at a woman. So I did this subject at university called Comedy and Power, and it's really interesting, the studies that go on. And I remember being a young actress, and I wasn't as big as what I am, and then I was in a play with a girl who was larger, and she was getting more laughs, and I was a little bit like, what is it? Like, what is it about it? But for some reason, people do feel more comfortable. But then at the same time, someone like me, I think it's my personality that drives and yeah, sometimes, of course, you use whatever you've got. So my physicality is this right now, so I definitely use it. But I think I could lose weight, and now I have such a good fan base and stuff. I'd just be doing slightly different things, but it'd be just as interesting and funny, I think. But yeah, there is a lot of scientific, so it's really interesting, I find. And a lot of larger girls and actresses do get pushed a bit more into the comedy roles. I don't quite know why.
Quickly, on all the female leads and even a couple of the male leads, I feel like they all had arcs, They all were one place and they end completely different, except for your character, which kind of stays the same.
Yeah, which is why I tried to add like that domestic violence into it, and like a homicide thing into my...
But did you feel like there was one, though, with your character that might have not been in the script?
No, there was never. My one is always like the more advice. I'm like the Hitch of How to Be Single, I think. Like I give all the advice. And I don't know, but then I have these other projects now in development with the same studio, because they've loved my performance in this, where I'm like the main girl, and I have the arc. So I don't know, but my function in the film is definitely probably more the comic relief. But yeah, I don't really end up with anyone or like.
Are they comedy too?
One that's with the studio is like a romantic comedy where instead of me being the friend, I'm playing the main girl, which I think is great.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Why was there a foosball table in your apartment?
Hey, girl,